Boop, 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 boop. Okay. I can't wait to hear people tell me how tired I look. And I could say, I'm exactly as tired as I look like I am.
Exactly. You're as tired as a alarm system going off at 1 a.m.
As a tired person can be. Oh, that's live. Let's not do that. Hey, what's up, Nick? And what's up, 144 Workshop? Okay, everything looking good over here?
I think so.
So we're trying something a little bit different today. Nicole is here in the shop with me, and I usually only look at the YouTube chat because that's it's very easy for me to do that. Facebook, we sort of kind of leave flapping in the wind until later when I go back in and answer questions. Just unfortunately, the way it works, it's very hard for me to field those questions. But with Nicole here, she can kind of look at Facebook and see if there's any good questions, and she can scream those out at me. You should, at least in theory, be able to hear Nicole. So say hi, Nicole.
Hi.
See, are you able to pause that live stream and still see the questions?
It's not letting me pause it. No.
See, Facebook does not make it easy for us.
No, they don't.
Worst case scenario, watch the YouTube chat as well, and if I miss a question, throw the question out at me.
Okay.
All right, and if you guys in the chat room, if you can confirm that you can hear Nicole, she'll probably be quiet. That's how we like Nicole. We like her quiet. What? So,
Watch it.
and click the button, show them what we can do.
Ooh, fancy.
Watch this. Hey, it's Nicole.
Hi.
Wait, hold on. I want my screen on top of yours so I can grab your head. I'm pinching your head, little lady. So Nicole is here to help us out and just kind of keep things moving along. So everyone likes a little Nicole in their life, right?
Aww.
I think so.
Okay, you don't need to see me anymore.
Okay, so if you do talk, just keep in mind, try to get your mouth up on that microphone because I do have it set a little bit quiet. All right, hello everybody. Happy Friday. And I was mentioning before that if I look tired, it's because I am tired. Last night was just one of those nights, about what, 1:30, I think it was?
Something like that.
Something like 1:30, the alarm system goes off in the house. And of course you can, once you get your brain on straight, you can look at where the, what thing was triggered. And it was our front door. Well, as it turns out, I think Mateo, before he went to bed, he ran outside to say goodbye to Grandmom, and he just kind of left the door partially open, so it wasn't completely latched in. And over the course of the night, it found its way loose, and that set off the alarm. So it's like 1:30, and once your adrenaline goes off like that, and you have that adrenaline rush, how do you go back to sleep? I admire people who can do that.
Backwards.
Well, I cannot count backwards. It's very confusing to me. And I focus too much on counting backwards, and then I can't go to sleep. So yeah, I got almost no sleep last night. Well, a couple hours, from like 11 o'clock to 1 o'clock. So I need some coffee. And we're going to start today with a little box progress review here. And I am working on a small jewelry box project. Pretty much finished everything up today. Still have some filming to do, but I want to show you what these things look like. Let's take a look. Let's take a look, man.
Amen.
Going down.
Do I get to pick the one I want?
Yeah, of course. Like always. When do you not get to pick the one you want? You're the boss, man. So to refresh your memory, this is the original that I made years ago. I actually made quite a few of these, inspired from a design I saw in a forum way back when, and a gentleman named Dave Nipfer. I should probably look him up. I'm sure he's got a website still. But it's just a real basic design, little legs on the sides, right? But I thought we could do a little bit better and do something a little more elegant. So that's what I did. Now, I've gone for something much more simple here. Like you see, I've got this little design on the side. I didn't think that was really necessary. And I wanted something that was a little more squared off, contemporary looking. So very basic sides here. And a nice square design. A little bit of flocking on the inside. Everyone likes a little flocking once in a while, right?
Most people don't know what that is.
What? Everyone knows what flocking is.
I didn't know what it was.
Well, flocking is basically like a suede powder. So you see this bag here? It's very soft and very fine powder suede material. So what you do is you line the inside with an adhesive from the same company, And it's a self-leveling adhesive, sits on the bottom, and then you flock the crap out of it. That's how I'm going to refer to it.
John O'Brien wants to know what type of hinge.
We'll get to that. Settle down, John. Relax, John. We'll get there. So on the inside, you see it's been thoroughly flocked. And I have fancy hinges on here. And this is one of the cool things I wanted to show. Because these are, if you try to install these can be a little tricky sometimes. But these are the little barrel hinges. All right? What's tricky about them is you obviously, it seems simple. You drill a hole, you drop it into each side, and you're done, right? But the depth of that hole and the placement of that hole is critical for these things to work. And if you look back here, you can see we've got chamfers on the back that allow those hinges to do their job. And they are awfully close to the edge. That's playing with fire. You got to be careful. All right?
You
But
sound like Howard Stern's mother.
Howard Stern's mom, maybe. That's exactly what that is. That's where I got that. Thanks, hon. So there you go. There's the real basic one. Then I decided to take it up a notch and do something that I feel is a little bit more elegant. And this one is Babinga and Maple. By the way, this was Wengi and Maple. This is Babinga and Maple. All right, same thing on the interior, really, but check out those sides and check out the top. Has that sort of coopered look, even though it's really just a solid piece. See? So I'm really excited about this. And I got another one here made of walnuts and maple. Walnuts and maple. And this one is the old one, right? Made out of purple heart and a little lamination for the legs. I thought I was pretty cool at the time. I was like, look what I can do. Check this out. All right, so those are the boxes. Video should be up, probably not next week because we have another Honda video, but the week after that, I think we'll be able to release this little box video. While I've got the camera pan down, let's take a look at some cool stuff. You guys like the unboxings, right? Unboxing. Do you think Canadians have Unboxing Day to complement Boxing Day?
Maybe.
It makes no sense, does it? This is a little gift pack sent to me from the folks at Taylor Toolworks. Holy moly, look at this stuff. Where's the piece of paper that was in here? There it is. I want to get their URL correct. Dan over at Taylor Toolworks. And it is taytools.com. Taytools.com. Taytools. And one of the things they specialize in, or that they're really into selling as a distributor, is Narex. And I've got a nice little assortment of things here, which is kind of cool because I think we might wind up getting them in a future giveaway. And I like to see this stuff. I like to get a hands-on with it before I promote it in any way and push it out to you guys. Narex is the company that makes some, I get a question about this a lot for people who are looking for their first chisel set. And the Narex keeps coming up as a good, fairly affordable option that actually gives you a really high quality edge. So I wanted to see for myself. Looks like we got a nice little mortising chisel here. They've got a pretty full-featured lineup. A nice rasp. Certainly feels like it will work well. I have to use it to tell you more about it. This looks like a little marking knife. Yeah, baby. Look at that. Don't cut yourself. That's nice. Boy, what else is in here? This looks like a dovetail chisel, maybe? Yeah. Yep, so this is one of those dovetail chisels where the top is angled like that, so you can get it right into a angled corner if you're cleaning out your, the area between your tails and your pins. Makes that nice and easy.
They are at IWF right now, too.
Oh, Taylor Tool is at IWF?
Yeah.
Anyone at IWF, you should go there.
Probably won't be here if they're at IWF.
Oh, they're not going to be watching? Whoa, look how long that is. Jeez. Now that's a paring chisel, friends. That is also a very good weapon for a ninja to carry. This looks like it's just a couple of skew chisels, small, skinny skews.
I have a question from the chat room.
A nice mallet. Sweet. So I'll get to that in a second. So there's a pretty nice lineup of tools here. So I'll just kind of incorporate these in the future as I go and just see what I think, and I'll let you know. Yes, chat room. How may I help you?
TC Hufferstutter. Is a mortising chisel used for door hinges?
Is a mortising chisel used for door hinges? It can be. See, a mortising chisel, the idea is to make, mortises. certainly a hinge mortise is a mortise, but it's probably one of the most shallow mortises you're ever going to make. So yeah, you certainly could use this, but the reason you generally use a mortising chisel, look at how thick that is. This is a chisel that can really take a beating. And based on this thickness, it's not going to flex, and you could really hammer this thing home to make a standard mortise, something that's a little bit more along the lines of what you would use in a mortise and tenon joint. So yeah, you could use these. I often do use these for things because I find them very easy to square up, because they've got these tall sides on them. So if I really want to be sure I've got a nice square orientation on something, I might use these. But generally speaking, you're going to use your bench chisels for the most part for a shallow mortise like that. Okay, David Gunn says we could start now. He's here. Good news. Somebody also did the "that's what she said," which I specifically avoided doing because I want to keep this family friendly.
Yes, family friendly.
Winnie, if you pee on my floor, we're going to make use of this mallet.
No, she's good.
Okay. So yeah, that's it from Taylor Tools. Tay Tool, is there an S? TayTools.com. Check them out. You know what I don't have is the Wood Talk sticker I wanted to bring out. I couldn't find it. I had it in my hands and I don't know where it went.
It was on your desk.
Was it?
Little interesting fact.
Shoot.
Tools, or Taylor Tools, is located in Columbia, Missouri,
What?
where I went to school.
What?
Yep.
I don't buy it.
Columbia College.
You're lying. Well, that's pretty cool.
Really neat.
Maybe we should go back there and say hi.
They've given you a invitation to visit them too.
Oh, well, in that case, I don't want to go. Well, cool stuff. That's really cool. So yeah, I had a Wood Talk sticker. I did want to show those, but hit the button so I don't hear it. So yeah, we've got 4x4 Wood Talk stickers. Anyone who becomes a patron on patreon.com/woodtalk of our Wood Talk audio show, you get that sticker at what I think is the $10 level. Can't recall exactly what it is, but I think it's the $10. So there's that, and that's awesome. And I also wanted to mention something that's on my mind is IWF, the International Wood Festival. Is that what it is? Yeah, that's a doctor's appointment. We're going to have to endure that. So I think it's the International Wood, what is it? International Wood Fair? IWIKE Wood Fair? I don't know. Anyway, it's in Atlanta. It's a big giant show with like the biggest tools that you could never fit in your shop. But there's also smaller tool companies represented there if you could find them. Sometimes they're a little hard to find on the show floor because it's generally massive. Now, Nicole and I used to go to these shows quite often.
We still have videos on our website of us.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
That's right. And we went to AWFS in Vegas, and they alternate years. So AWFS is in Vegas one year, then Atlanta has the IWF show. And they're cool. I mean, you have to at least go once if you can to experience it because it's just a massive, massive show. Over the years, they started to become a little bit less and less valuable, like all trade shows, because of the internet and the ability to promote your products outside of an expensive event like that. So it kind of has, gone downhill in terms of attendance and also presence of the companies you actually are interested in. But it seems to me, looks like this year, maybe even last year, things are going in the other direction. Because I like talking to you, and you're nice to look at.
See, you can see. Oh, there. You can see him right there.
So yeah, it does look like there is almost a resurgence going on. So I'm interested to hear what people find at this year's show. Our buddy Matt Cremona is down there, and I've seen a bunch of other people, guild members and other folks who are down there, getting some good deals on tools as well. So if you've been to IWF and you want to talk about it, let us know. I want to hear your experiences. What do you think about it? International Woodworking Fair. I like, they should call it International Woodworking Festival. It just sounds more fun. Like there would be a turkey leg vendor there or some churros. We really want to make it exciting.
Yeah. Someone asked
Yeah,
about
Mark
your purple ring.
Prescott says, Mark killed trade shows, is what I heard. That is the rumor. Purple Rain?
Purple ring?
What happened to Purple Rain? I don't know what he's talking about.
Your purple ring.
Oh, ring. It sounded like you said Purple Rain. You're a Prince fan. You could have said that. Well, here's my purple ring. I could talk about that real quick. This is going to come up in the video for these boxes because it is going to be a QALO advertisement in the middle of the video there. But this purple ring is a charity effort that QALO was doing. Nicole knows a little bit more about it than I do. Do you want to say something about it real quick?
Yes, QALO, they're partnering with a foundation called the Jesse Reese Foundation, and I believe it's 20% of all the proceeds of the sale of these rings go towards that foundation. So it's a great organization, and we're super excited to partner with QALO on that.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, the ring is named after someone who's associated with the company
Yes.
whose daughter is going through some treatment, and it's just, it's one of those things that really gets you in the heart, and especially because her name is Ava, and so is my daughter. So it was something that immediately I was like, this email makes me want to cry.
Yeah.
And I decided that, yeah, you know what? A purple ring, as long as it's making a statement like that and it's for a good cause, hell yeah, I'll wear a purple ring.
I like them. I have one.
They're cool. I mean, it's purple and glittery. I mean, it's not, the manliest thing in the world, but if you're typically these purple and pink sort of things, if they seem out of place, it's usually someone who's doing something for a charity event like that. So,
I think we have a couple more.
purple rain, purple ring. Is that good?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, someone asked, can I get a Wood Whisperers t-shirt or hoodie delivered to the UK? Well,
Yeah.
we don't have hoodies anymore, do we?
I don't know. We might.
I
If
don't-
it's in the store and we have it, yes, we do ship to the UK. Just put your address in and you'll find out what it costs. I don't know off the top of my head, but the calculator is built into the cart.
We're not Amazon. We don't do Prime shipping.
Oh no.
We're
We
letting
charge
everybody
you what the US Postal Service charges us.
Exactly.
And that's the way it goes.
Oh, Amazon.
Yeah.
Ruined it, everyone.
No news on a couple people are asking about the grandfather clock. You okay over there, Nicole?
Yeah. Your
Sounds
desk
like you
is
fell.
Your desk is a little.
Don't criticize my desk.
It's not.
The grandfather clock pricing situation, I don't know exactly what it is, but I do know we are going to get a substantial discount. And I'm thinking in the neighborhood of 15 to 20%, maybe more, depends on how generous they want to be. I can't make a promise until I hear back, but there will be a significant discount. So you can count on that.
Oh, and I think your mom is in the chat room.
Oh no.
She says we have hoodies.
Mom's here. Okay, everybody, act natural. Wayne Brown says, I've really enjoyed the Honda videos. How about a hint on what the next one is about? I'll give you more than a hint. I'll just tell you what it is. It's a 4 in a row game, which is what you have to say when you don't want to be sued by, who makes Connect 4? Hasbro?
I think it's Hasbro.
So you can't call it a Connect 4 game. It's a 4 in a row game, and it's a big giant yard game, so it stands this tall. And I made it a little bit lower to the ground so that my son could actually play with it. Again, all these projects are just simple plywood construction, fairly easy to build. That one in particular is kind of cool because we have to build a trammel arm to cut out all those circles. And a lot, like the bench, it's definitely tedious because you've got a lot of circles to cut out to make one of those boards. If you ever looked at a Connect 4 game and count all those holes, we got to cut all those holes in 2 pieces of 1/4-inch ply, and then you got to cut all the game pieces out. So you could do it with a trammel arm, or you can use, I bought some hole saws that actually will work too. And hole saws, I mean, if you're making a couple, that they're not too bad, but it does take a long time to do all of them. So again, you got to get creative with this stuff, and it's not always super fast, but they are fairly simple.
That's a fun little project.
It is. Someone's saying they're having a hard time hearing you still.
Well, I'm about as close to this mic as I can get.
You'll probably, here, move that window over a little to the left
All right.
so I could see the, okay,
Yep.
say hi.
Hello, everyone.
She's probably a little bit louder now.
Yeah. Not by much. Oh, there. Boop, boop.
You may just adjust your face distance as needed.
Face distance.
Keep the face distance appropriate for the task.
All right.
Okay, so, oh yeah, that's a good question. So the Insomniac says, have you seen the handheld CNC router from Shaper Tools? Now, yes, I have. I shared a link out to it on Facebook. this is something that's been rumored for quite a while when they initially had some prototype videos online. And I guess the idea is it's a handheld router solution, but think of it like an intelligent guide that's keeping you from going over your lines. So all you have to really do, from what I understand, is kind of roughly follow certain guidelines as you move, and the router kind of does its thing within the confines of what you're doing. And you can certainly screw it up if you go too far, so there is a little bit of a sort of a manual aspect to it. But as long as you stay within whatever the tolerances are, I don't know what they are, it seems like it then follows those lines. I think any new technology is cool. New tech is always cool because it just pushes the limits of what we can do. This is kind of the first we're seeing something like this, so I don't want to be too critical of it because it's new. It's something that may push the envelope a little bit further, and someone may find an application for it that is really, really good. I do have a couple of concerns about it as a product and as it stands right now. It seems like it's going to be slow. It seems like you're going to have these, like whenever you see it in use, there's these guide strips that are included. I don't know what the process is to make those and how well you could take a simple design that you've drawn on a piece of plywood and now you need to cut that out. How does that translate into the tool? These are things I'm not familiar with because I haven't used it. So that could make or break it depending on how tedious that process is. And the fact remains, now we're getting into a world where CNC is becoming cheaper and cheaper. And if you're having me hold something to get the same benefit that I can get from a CNC, where I normally can just go in, put in a shape and a design, clamp my board down, and hit a button and walk away and have some coffee. Obviously, you still should, watch your CNC machine and make sure it doesn't go wacky on you. But those machines are coming down in price. I feel like if you're going into the world of CNC, why would you even want to hold something and push it around? Like, that's why I go to CNC, is so that I can go do something else and not have any manual input. I don't feel like I should have to move it at all. So I don't know. I don't know exactly how useful this is really going to be for people in a world where CNC is becoming more accessible and cheaper if you want that sort of automated approach to your woodworking and what you're building. That said, completely uninformed opinion other than the fact that I've watched a couple videos, right? So take it with a grain of salt. And the people who want to do that, it's not, I posted that video and of course, it's going to happen. There's always the people who are like, oh, why even bother? Why don't you go buy furniture? Shut up. That's like, I can't stand that kind of response. People will use whatever tools they feel are appropriate for the task. You're entitled to an opinion if you don't think that that's true craftsmanship, but who cares? It's another tool to get things done. I mean,
for them,
someone at some point may have looked at a table saw and said, oh, that's not real woodworking because you're not moving the saw by yourself. And again, who cares? Like, whatever you want to use to get the job done. So let's move past that BS sort of response and let's look at it as a new tool that could bring in some new technology and some new things that could make things better and make the world a better place.
Technology bad.
Maybe allows some individual craftsmen to be able to do something at a high throughput level that allows them to run a successful business on their own. So they don't have to go to work for a big company, that would support a small business like that. To me, it's all good.
Would you like some questions?
Starting to get a little jaded about that sort of response.
Yeah. Would you like some questions?
Sure. Give me some questions.
All right. Let's see here. I have one right now.
Any updates? David Gunn wants to know. Any updates on Weekend with Wood Talk?
Oh.
I'm sure I would have to after you. I'm really bad at reading this. After you move and get settled. Well, we haven't really. No, is the short answer to that. So many other things between the birth of my daughter, the fact that Mother Nature decided that my thyroid was only 50% necessary. Just there's been a lot going on this year. It's so on the back burner right now. But you could see Wood Talk with the Patreon campaign. We are doing a lot of things around the world of Wood Talk. It could be something that eventually becomes a priority, and we just make it happen.
And we make it a goal. Ooh. We do have a question. Would you mind explaining the differences between chisels and its qualities between producers? Why should we switch to an expensive one sometimes? Because I know you have the marbles.
So chisels, cheap versus expensive.
Yeah.
Why? Okay. Well, that's a good question. And I have a bunch of chisels up on the wall here. By the way, can you guys let me know, does Nicole sound better? I love Brian's, he referred to me as a ruthless pragmatic. I like that. That should be our tagline for the show. So if you can hear Nicole better, let me know.
It doesn't matter.
I want to know. We need to have feedback on. It's all about the community, Nicole. Stop it. You're not a community player. All right. So I've probably talked about this in the past, but it's worth rehashing. I keep 2 sets of chisels, 2 different types of bench chisels. One is what I call my beater set, my knock-around set, the one that Nicole sometimes will use to open cans of paint.
Hey, you called it your knock-around set. I'm thinking, well,
My version of knock-around is using like rough wood. Nicole's version of knock-around is playing hopscotch with this.
Opening cans of paint.
And opening cans of paint. So I like to have a more rough set of chisels that I don't care if they get a little bit beat up. And that's for really rough work or projects that I don't care a whole lot about. Or maybe I've got a door that someone mentioned it before, making a mortise. I've got to recess, something on a door that I'm fixing in the house. I'll just use my marbles set. They're great, all-around chisels. This is probably where I recommend people start. Because as you're learning the craft, you want to practice on a set that you don't mind beating up a little bit.
Using them paint cans.
Yes, and opening paint cans with. And as you progress, sometimes you want to get something that's holds a nicer edge. Maybe it's a little bit sharper, and you give it a little more TLC. And these are the things that you use for your fine joinery when accuracy really matters and you're looking for perfection. So I have a really nice set of chisels. Now, I happen to like Japanese chisels. Why? Because they just look awesome. Right, that's reason number 1. Reason number 2, I even mentioned this last week, is they are measured in metric. And what's nice about that is the metric equivalents of our Western sizes are just undersized. So that if you're trying to trim things down to, for me, in the hybrid woodworking methodology that I use is I'll use a power tool. So let's say I cut a 3/4 inch dado and I need to make it a stop dado. Well, I'm exactly 3/4 of an inch wide. And if I have a 3/4 inch, which this is not, chisel, it's going to be very tricky to get that lined up without gouging to the left or right. So I like to use a metric equivalent of that, which in, 18 millimeters, I believe, is going to be slightly undersized, which is going to give me that little bit of play that I need to terminate that dado just right. So for me, personally, I find metric to be the better option for my chisels anyway. So that is my case for having 2 sets of chisels. Again, start with 1, but work your way up to the second set.
Are the Narex, are those metric?
I don't know. I don't think so. They might, some companies sell metric and imperial. The measurements on these are imperial, but they might sell metric for all I know. We might look that up. Mm-hmm. So that's, again, 1 for beat up, 1 for really, really nice stuff, if that makes sense. Kevin wants to know, do you sharpen your Western and your Japanese chisels at the same angle? I do not, and I have to remember exactly what they are. I usually keep these guys sharpened at a little bit more of a fine angle. Now, when you're talking about chisel angles, the lower the number, 25 degrees, something like that, we're talking about this angle, right? So if you go up to like 50 degrees, as an extreme example, you're making a much more obtuse angle. And the idea is if you go, the bigger the angle, the more robust that surface is going to be, the better it holds up. But there's an upper limit to that because the thicker you go, the wider that angle is, it's not quite as efficient at cutting and maybe it won't appear as sharp. You've got more material in a way if you're chopping, there's more metal in the way of the wood as the wood needs to push out. So a lot of times you can change that angle if you know that the material on the chisel is a little bit brittle. So let's say you do have a cheap set of chisels. Maybe you don't want those to be your 25-degree chisels, right? You may want to go up to a 35-degree angle, and that makes the edge of that chisel a little bit more robust. It'll be more durable. So I can't even remember exactly what my numbers are. I think even though my marbles are my beaters, and I'd be more inclined to give them a stronger angle, a lot of times I may even be using them for paring. And for paring, it's nice to have a nice shallow angle because I'm not really, abusing it. I'm not often taking a mallet to it when I'm doing a paring activity. So I can get away with something like a 25-degree angle. I like the edges of my Japanese chisels to hold up a little bit better. I probably have these guys at about 30 degrees, if I remember correctly. But every time I sharpen, it's like I should write this stuff down. Because every time I sharpen, I've got to figure out what the angle is, set my jig, and then I'm off to the races once it's set up.
Scott wants to know, can you harden a cheaper chisel to make it stronger?
Scott is asking about hardening a cheaper chisel. I have no idea.
Me neither.
I'm not a metallurgist. That's a question for people who know much more about metal than I do.
Yes, you make them stronger by buying stronger ones.
Yes, I make them stronger by selling them and buying a different set. Let's see.
Ian Nelson in the chat room says, Scott, it depends on the metal used to make them. So.
Okay, so Josh Manes is asking, I purchased my first jointer and calibrated it. Almost every board I run through ends up with a smooth bump about 3 inches from the end of the board. Can you tell what I'm doing wrong? Well, it sounds like you didn't calibrate it, doesn't it? So when you're describing a smooth bump, it's a little bit tricky because I want to make sure I understand exactly what we're talking about. Use a paint stick here. If what you're saying is like what can sometimes feel like a bump toward the end of the board is actually a divot that just goes off the edge, all right? So that trailing snipe that you're getting there is typically what happens when your outfeed table is a little bit below the cutter head. It's a little bit too low. So as you're pushing the piece across, by the time the board is fully on the outfeed side, you've got those blades chewing a little bit deeper once this edge is no longer supported by the infeed. So a lot of times you could alleviate that by raising up the outfeed side of your table. So I'm hoping that's what you're talking about when you describe that bump, because as you run your finger across, it's a divot, but it actually feels to your finger like there's a bump. What it actually is you're just raising up to the next level for the rest of the board. So definitely, like after I do my calibration on my jointer, I run a few test boards, and I almost always, no matter what I calibrate it, as long as my tables are you know, the planes are similar, parallel planes, if you will, I almost always have to nudge the outfeed table up or down in a very non-exact, not micro-adjusted sort of way, just by simply running my boards, seeing what I see, make a slight adjustment, run the boards, see what I see. And if you go too high, you'll eventually start to get to a point where the wood just is not happy going across there. And by the time you get to the end, you're not even cutting the board. So that's how you know you've gone too high. But try to find that sweet spot and just make an adjustment, cut, make an adjustment, cut until you got it perfect. Bill wants to know. Oh, Bill, that Bill. Bill Lavolsi from Maker's Shussle wants to know, what's your favorite aspect of woodworking? Do you enjoy the planning, the fitting, the feeling of completion? Let's see.
Maker what?
Maker Shussle.
What's that?
It's Maker's Hustle.
Oh.
That if you put it all in one word, it looks like Maker Shussle. I really, just about all aspects. Rough milling, probably not my favorite. I do like finishing because that's when the project really kind of comes to life and you get to see the end product. I mean, who doesn't love the end of the project? As far as procedural stuff, like I said, milling, not a big fan. I do like joinery. I like working on joinery, perfecting joinery. Design and planning is not really my forte. It's not something I'm great at doing, but there are some designs where I feel like I'm just in the zone and I really feel comfortable in that particular project where I get excited about it. So design can be exciting. It's not always exciting though. Sometimes it's difficult for me because I say this all the time. I'm not a designer. I don't consider myself a very creative person. I generally will look at other things that I'm inspired by and just try to make my own version of it.
So I have a question for you from Facebook.
Yes.
DeWald, I believe that's how you pronounce his name. Do you like Japanese handsaws as well? What's your opinion on something like a Ryoba versus a tenon handsaw?
You could look on the back wall and see what my preference is, right? I've got some Western style saws here. I've used, some Dozukis. I've got a little guy right here. I think the Japanese style saws are fantastic, but you just have to try them. I think they sometimes just identify better with certain woodworking personalities than others. They're cheap, which is good, and you can get them two-sided, so you kind of have like a cross-cut configuration and a ripping configuration on the same saw. So if you can go that route, I think it's a good money-saving option. Definitely something to consider. But for me personally, I really like the sort of pistol grip handle that you get with a traditional Western saw. And it's probably just because that's what I've used all my life. If I ever picked up a handsaw, that's the kind of format I've dealt with. So I think it's a comfort level thing. But a lot of people, sometimes they feel like they've got more control on the pull stroke than the push. So it's worth a shot.
Kind of like those funky mouses like your mom has versus the standard mouse.
Oh, the big rolling?
Yeah, the rolling mouse.
My mom with her mouses. With her, are they mice by the time you're talking about it on the
Yeah,
computer?
probably.
Or mouses? Mom, get a real mouse, lady. What are you
Ian
doing?
wants to know, do you like the Veritas hand plane or another make?
I tend to favor Lee Nielsen. I like the classic Stanley designs. I think Lee Nielsen makes fantastic versions of those. But Lee Valley kind of does something a little bit different. They put their spin on it. They put sort of a modern aesthetic to it, and they sometimes come up with solutions to classic problems in their design. So I think look closely at each one, and you might be picking and choosing. And I've got mostly Lee Nielsen for my bench planes, but for a lot of my joinery planes, I actually favor Lee Valley. You can take a look in my cabinet over here. I'm going to move the camera. So, Lee Nielsen, Lee Nielsen, Lee Nielsen, Lee Nielsen, number 5 over here. Veritas, Veritas on the shoulder planes, Veritas on the rounder planes, Veritas on the spoke shaves, Lee Nielsen, block planes. Scott Meeks, all wood. Fancy schmancy. So that's kind of the theme. Bench planes, I'm favoring Lee Nielsen at the moment. But you know what? Tell you what, somebody came into my shop and said, hey, I'll swap out all of your Lee Nielsens for equivalent, maybe low angle versions of Veritas planes. I might say, okay, let's do this. Let's party. I mean, I don't think it's that huge of a difference. You really can't go wrong with either one of those companies. They're both fantastic.
Adrian wants to know, you mentioned on Wood Talk that the finish on the rocker doesn't look as good as it did right after it was finished. Is there any way you can post a picture of what it looks like now? Well, there's a reason for that. The cleaning people came through.
We had a cleaning service come through, and they, I guess, cleaned it with a damp rag.
Yeah.
Not even really like end dust or a waxy solution, just water. And it really raised the grain. But he's talking about the fact that I'm not happy with that. To me, that's not a good finish. Mm-hmm. And I really was extremely happy with the way it came off when I first finished the chair. And just over time, it's reinforcing what I've known to be true and what I've sort of held as a personal belief in finishing is that oils suck. I know a lot of people love that natural oil finish, and if that's your thing, good on you. That's awesome. For me, I just don't like it. I like a finish that actually protects the surface. And oil has to be applied so many times and so often. And a lot of times you want to put a wax in there as well if you really want to get any kind of water resistance to it. So not to knock it. Everybody can use whatever you're comfortable with. We're just talking about my opinion here. I just have a trouble getting behind the oil finishes. So I'm probably going to have to do an update video on the chair to show what I'm going to do to fix that. Because as many coats as I put, I think like 8 or 9 coats, if I remember correctly, that I put on that chair when it was all said and done, the fact that someone can't run a damp rag over it without the grain raising tells me there's not enough finish on the surface, right? Incidentally, I do have something interesting here I could show you. And because I'm an open-minded chap, that's what people say about me. They say, Mark, you're a pretty open-minded chap.
They do?
Well, yeah, that's what Mateo says. My son thinks he's British, by the way.
Yes, he does.
He watches Peppa Pig all the time, which is a UK show, and he refers to the shopping cart. We go to Walmart. He's like, I want to go in the trolley. I want to go in the trolley. He pronounces tomatoes. There's just a couple other things that are specific to the UK and England specifically that
It's adorable.
It's hilarious. My brother lives in London. He loves it. All right, so this is the pizza peel. You guys remember this, right? I have been finishing this just periodically whenever I think about it. I go get another coat of tried and true, apply it to the surface, because I just want to see what happens. Like, how many coats is it going to take for this to become a durable surface that I can put water on very quickly and not get a grain raise? So I don't know if we're there yet. And this looks good, right? You can get the reflection there. Check that out. And this is just tried and true oil. Maybe they're oil varnish. And I actually think it looks really great. The problem is, I just don't think that this is going to hold up for very long. So if I take this into the house and actually use it and then wash it afterwards, and I don't wash it in tons of water, I understand that's not what we're supposed to do, but a lightly damp rag, quick, and dry it off, that's what you need to do to keep some of these things clean, right? So while it looks great now, I'm just not so sure that it's going to stay great without a whole lot of maintenance, right? And that's kind of my problem with it. And that's the catch-22 of food items, because you don't really want to build a film, but you have to have a renewable thing. So that's where I think the oil finishes are really good for food-related items, or workbenches, things that you know are going to get really, really beat up. A chair, not so much. I don't know. I don't think it's a good option for that chair. So I definitely do need to make an update video on that, so folks who are building the chair know what's up.
Chad wants to know, which finish would you recommend for a maple kitchen countertop?
A maple kitchen countertop, I don't know. It kind of depends. Are you going to cut on it? Because if it's actually going to be a cutting surface, then you have to think about that food safeness sort of issue. If it's just more of a countertop surface, you'll be using cutting boards. Well, now you want something that's got some water resistance and heat resistance. You want a really good solid finish on there. You might even, not that I would want to see a thick epoxy finish, but that's kind of the extreme example of protection level that you would want. You could just use polyurethane on it. A good armor seal type wipe-on finish would be fine. There are also really good high-grade water-based finishes that you can use if you want to retain that blonde look and not have it yellow a little bit. Even General Finishes has some good stuff. They've got high performance would be a decent choice, I think. And they even have an exterior water-based solution, exterior 405, I believe, which might even be a better choice for that.
Jeff would like to know if you think you'll ever do a project with David Marks as a special guest. We kind of did a long time ago, sort of.
A project with? Well, we did.
Yeah.
There was a turning video. He turned a bowl.
Yes, he turned a bowl.
So we did a turning video with David.
And you got to wear his clothes.
Yeah. No, that was a different time. That was when we did a tour.
Oh, that's what okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we might do something with David in the future. Obviously, he lives in Northern California, and I live all the way down here in a place I like to call Satan's butthole. And so it's a little hard for me to get all the way up to Santa Rosa, but I would, David's the man.
Oh, yeah.
David's the boy, my boy. He's my boy, Blue.
We have someone that wants to know if you could explain the simplest way to make a groove by chisels instead of hand plow planes, because in my country of Iran, there is a serious lack of hand tools, hand tool specialty planes.
Well, that's a terrible question to ask me.
I'm sorry.
Because I don't often make grooves by hand. That's a Shannon Rogers question or a Roy Underhill question.
Yeah.
I hate that process. Like, to me, plowing a groove with hand tools is like putting little bamboo shards in my fingernails. It's not something I enjoy doing.
So you should probably give
So go check
Kaya,
out my buddy over at renaissancewoodworker.com. Go bother Shannon with that question. No, seriously, Shannon will be able to help you out with that. Obviously there's ways you can do it, and I just am not into those. It's not the way I would approach it. I don't think I've ever done a groove by hand.
side.
Felix wants to know, where is Satan's butthole? It's a few miles west of Phoenix.
Okay. So I changed where my.
We're going to actually wrap it up here.
Look at that. I'm monkeying around with the picture-in-picture.
Don't monkey. See, now you're huge.
Well, I was being covered up by the live symbol.
It's okay.
All right.
People like it that way.
Shut up.
All right, well, we have to wrap it up
Yeah,
anyway.
that's true. We've been on here for
45 minutes, a little longer than I like to go with these things. So let's see. I think that is about it. I'm sure I missed a ton of questions. I do like to go back on Facebook because they make it easy for me to go back and answer some of these questions. So if I have time, I will do that. And I guess that's about it. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody. Nicole, you want to come? Oh, you're on the camera, right? You want to put your giant picture up real quick so everyone can see you? You get your full exposure there.
Yep.
Well done. Cool. All right. Well, thanks, everybody. This is always a blast. Thank you for hanging out with me on a Friday morning.
Hey, I think this is the first time I've hung out in a while, huh?
It is, yeah. Nicole used to always be here for the live sessions, but she's so busy. Kids and stuff and work. What's that about?
things.
What's
hey,
that
oh,
about?
by the way,
Yes.
Woodworkers Fighting Cancer. I'm working on that right now, and in the process of building out the website and talking to sponsors. So we'll probably be launching that sometime in September.
Yeah.
So stay tuned. We're still going to do it again this year. It's an annual thing.
Absolutely. We just don't know what we're doing and when,
I know what we're doing.
but we will be doing it.
He just doesn't.
Oh, Nicole knows. I don't know. All right.
All
Thanks,
right.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
What am I turning off?
Oh, let me do it. I'll do it.